producers definitely need to assess the costs and weigh the benefits so that they know what their ROI is, and kind of do that on an ongoing basis to make sure that the things in ag tech that they're investing in do actually provide them value. But at the same time, like, don't sit on the sidelines. I think take advantage of what is out there, so that you can help create the direction of what ag tech is.
Hey, I'm Shay Keister, and I'm your host for the Casual Cattle Conversations podcast, where we connect you with members of the beef industry who can help you build a more profitable operation. As you listen to each episode, be sure to set an intention for the show. What do you want to get out of it, and how do you want to use this information to make changes on your operation? If you're looking for more ranching resources outside of what's being shared on these podcast episodes, sign up for my free weekly newsletter. I'll send ranching information and podcast episodes straight to your inbox every week. In addition to that, you will also receive a free PDF with 22 ranch management tips from the gurus who have been on my show. The link to sign up for that is in the show notes. With that, let's hear from our guest today and discover how we can improve the beef industry and our own unique cattle operations. Alrighty, well, we have Alex and Keenan on the show today, and I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves. But to kind of preface this interview, we're going to talk about the Cattle ID app, but as a broader topic, we're going to talk about ag tech and what that means for beef production, because we see a lot of technology in the farming space, and it's very much increasing in the beef space. But we're going to look at what that really means for beef producers and what they really need to understand about the beef space today, or beef technology space today. Words are hard, I guess. So with that, all right, Alex, let's start with you, and let's hear about your background in ag tech and the beef industry.
Yeah. Hey, Shay, thanks for having us. My name is Alex Heine. I am from Northeast Nebraska. I grew up on my family's commercial cattle feeding and farming operation there. Ever since I was young, I was, very interested in new technology. I actually considered going to college for computer science, but my passion for the cattle business outweighed that. After attending UNL, I had the opportunity to join a startup there in Lincoln, Nebraska called Quantified Ag, working on cattle health monitoring and improving animal health in the feedlot and backgrounding spaces. That's what led me into this role today as the head of product for Cattle ID. It's been a ton of fun learning more about the cow-calf segment and meeting with ranchers, learning about all of their various challenges and opportunities in that space.
Well, that's pretty cool, Alex. And New Stockyard Group and Cattle ID are lucky to have you. You have quite the experience in ag tech, so that's pretty neat. Keenan, do you want to talk about your background in ag and how you're in the ag tech space? You're going to be the techie guy on the show, so we might be asking you to explain some of your vocabulary a little bit.
That is great. Ask away, because I from that techie side, I actually, my start doesn't come in ag tech, I actually have two different paths. So for those as we start, my name is Keenan Hawekotte, and with New Stockyard Group, I am what is called a lead developer. That just means I'm one of the head nerds that writes code, And so a lot of what people want and see and do through the app comes through me, and so for me previously, I have had two separate routes. I actually, by degree, I am a mathematician. All the way through the PhD, it was math. And then after that, ended up taking a slight turn and going into tech from there, and mainly worked in what I would call meta tech, which is the modern new age type startup where you're just working on fully developed online things. But also previously, before all of that, I had actually worked on the processing and post-processing side with beef, working for Piedmontese and dealing with animal breakdowns and distribution after the animal has lived its long full life, So now with new stockyard group, I actually got pulled in and got to like merge these two paths, right? And I got pulled in as an old boss from a company called Huddle, HUDO, reached out with a cool opportunity as he was working on awesome, right, like machine learning, artificial intelligence stuff for a new stockyard group. Got me enticed, and so with that, I am here, and it's been interesting to learn because most of my previous experience, right, had been after life. So it's cool to see now the complete opposite end at the start of life, right? And because of that, not a ton of experience, but a little bit there of getting out there and just getting our hands dirty.
Well, that's awesome to hear, Keenan. And so as we talk today, I think it'd be interesting to hear how, we talk about how cattle producers are looking at all these traits, and we understand that the importance of collecting data, finding these traits, ultimately it impacts their bottom line, improves their profitability, whether that improves efficiency and just overall uniformity of an operation. So I think to start there, like starting at the beginning, Alex, do you want to talk a little bit about what cattle ID is so that those listening understand kind of what specific ag technology application we're speaking about today and going to use as the example?
Yeah. So cattle ID really, started, like I said earlier, from a consortium that basically said, hey, look, the cattle industry, specifically the rancher, is very underserved, especially when it comes to managing their data, tracking that information. And as we dug in deeper, we basically just started with something really simple, which was a digital calving book. It seems like, anymore, you always have your phone with you. So it's like, let's just build an app that allows producers to easily capture and track this information, but then also share that information with others in their operation. There's still a lot of ranchers that are using purely paper records, but there's more and more like people getting familiar. And I think that's just having availability to phones and always having them with you, but using SMS, sheets, notes in their phone. And we simply are just starting by creating a place for those records to be digitized and accessed in one spot. Now we're starting to get to the point where we've created a really easy and friendly way for them to do that. And now we're bringing new operational insights, herd insights into dashboards and filtering tools, and really just learning as we go, learning from the customer, what are their most important needs, pain points, desires, what are the things that can help make their operation better and more profitable. And those are the things that we're looking to build next.
So on the tech side, because there are so many different traits that can be measured on any beef operation, how do you decide what goes into the app or what's going to be valuable in that? Because you can't, having everything would be a giant monster right away. Like, for those of you who are on the audio, you're watching Keenan shake his head at the thought of having everything on there.
It's a scary thought. No, and I'm sure people will, maybe not in the ag tech space, but they've experienced an app that has everything, but because it has everything, it has nothing. And so, yeah, you touched on a very key issue that is actually at the center of a lot of our conversations when discussing anything involving the app, the product, the company, everything. Right, where there's this balance between what I'll call like generalizability. That is, every operation is its own operation, right? They might have specific traits that only they follow, but there's this hope that this singular app can be used by many operations simultaneously. That's how, one, we can get a collective consortium of information that can be shared and can actually help bring information back into the entire field. But there's that balance between generalizability and that hidden specificity that comes with unique traits for each operation. So what we really focus on right now is trying to find that middle ground, right? We're not trying to offer pure specificity, which is where you just throw everything out there. But we're also not trying to make sure that it's pure generalizability. And so how we tackle that is we take all the information we have. We see what few fields float to the top and are commonly used. And then for us right now, something we do is we offer a couple extras that allow more general feedback. It's things like, you'll think about like notes, like free form writing of notes, or a more modern comment system, right? Things that are similar to that. Free form, the downside, right? With very well-defined fields that we'll talk about, like tag, or maybe you have an alternate ID, color, that you can start, you can actually report on those. It makes it a little bit more difficult once we get into the free form stuff, but that's part of that generalizability, specificity, like trade-off. You can trade off like allowing reports for allowing more information to be shared to a broader like audience. And so that's, yeah, key.
So Alex, you're a little more on like the user side a little bit. Would you say that like having a more generalized app is almost more effective and useful for cattle producers, even if it does limit some of those specializations and unique points?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my opinion, it is. There's a lot of applications out there that kind of throw the book at the problem, and they allow you to do everything. And we just wanted to start with something like really simple. We just want to get them digitized, or if they are digitized, like they are in, let's say, Google Sheets, let's just put them in a spot where their herd records are, because that's really the foundation. That's the starting point. And, right now, a lot of people, right, they're taking pictures maybe of their animals or their receipts or something that happens out in the field. And then it's just in their camera roll with a bunch of other images, and right, they're having to like scroll and find that information or search through old SMS, or, their coal list that they're building is right next to their grocery shopping list, and it's just like, we're literally just trying to start from, ground zero and build a very easy way for people just to kind of start putting that into that digital format. And yeah, we'll have to get more and more structured as we go, and we'll figure out the things that are most useful and provide the most impact. And there already is quite a bit of structure in there, that if people do want to capture weights and report off those things like Keenan's saying, I think it offers kind of the best of both worlds.
Right. And I mean, I've been in the app a fair amount, and from what I see, I mean, there's value for really any cattle producer who's wanting to collect data right now, whether it's as simple as just tag and birth date, or if you want to go into sex and weight and dam information, sire information, health records. There are a lot of options there, which is really useful. And personally, being the younger generation on an operation, I love the digital records aspect, but having a place where both my parents and myself can see the same thing is really valuable, because otherwise it's like, well, I would text mom that a new calf was born and then she'd put it in the records, but it was like I never had the full sheet, or we'd have one printed off, and it was just a lot of extra steps, and sometimes handwriting would get in the way, or if someone wrote a note on their hand and then that would accidentally get washed off. So there's a lot of different opportunities for ag tech to make the beef industry more efficient. And on that line, Alex, how do you see ag tech being the most beneficial to operations as it relates to their bottom line? Where do you think those big areas of help are for cattle producers?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It's an exploding area. There's a lot of, investment and opportunities finally coming to this segment. I guess one thing I will say is, like, I think assess the costs and, weigh the benefits so that they know what their ROI is, and kind of do that on an ongoing basis to make sure that the things in ag tech that they're investing in do actually provide them value. But at the same time, like don't sit on the sidelines. I think take advantage of, what is out there, so that you can help create the direction of what ag tech is, so that you can, find the biggest ROI for, help influence the direction to help you find the biggest ROI for your operation. Cause I think everybody's needs are different. But I mean, the biggest opportunity I think just starts with tracking it in a digital way. And then, just seeing those things year after year. We're seeing it already where we put people's historical data in and we're already helping them find, new insights that were really difficult to understand back when it was, pen and paper, and everybody was tracking it, but the data was just going on a bookshelf. But now actually having it kind of in this one uniform place. So yeah, I don't think I really answered like how they can find the best impact, but I think just testing and trying different things is probably really important.
Yeah.
Be open to that.
And if I can hop in here real quick, that's all right. Like from the tech side, in our current modern era, right? Data is knowledge and knowledge is power. And whether that be looking inward for operations, right? Looking at their own like herds year over year, or whether it be like outward where, things might not be tight now, but having accountability in previous records can help you in the future. There's a little bit of insight as well as hedging that is involved in having this data. It helps you also then democratize the data. You can bring it all together, bring it out to other people, improve accountability, give yourself some more power when you come to the table with specific individuals, right? And that all starts here, as Alex mentioned, with that like central repository of information. You don't want to be sitting in a meeting with someone trying to get a loan and having to scroll through your text to remember who you texted on that day to make sure that the animal was right. You just want it there. And I think that this is a key step towards that.
Absolutely. And the data conversation has been brought up multiple times in the past 6 months on this show, for multiple different businesses and producers. And when we look at the tight margins in the cow-calf industry as they are, you look at the number one input for so many producers is that feed cost. But next to that, oftentimes it can be open cows. So even being able to track which cows are breeding late or calving late, which ones are coming up open, or which ones just aren't producing calves that weigh up. That's big for producers to be able to pull that up and see so that they can have the highest performing herd that they need.
Exactly.
So kind of shifting gears a little bit. So Alex and Keenan, you talked about how you kind of decide what features are on the app and what that looks like for producers and why they're in there. But what I'm curious about is, so me as a beef producer, as an app user, when I'm on there, say there's a malfunction in the app and, say I enter a birth weight and for some reason that field doesn't work. And, I submit that there's an error so that someone like Keenan would know. But Keenan, what does that look like on your end to try and fix that error? Because I only see the working side, right? So I don't understand, and sometimes it's nice to understand a little bit of the full side of it. So what does that look like for you as far as how much time does it take? How much testing is it? What's that?
Totally. Yeah. And that's the fun thing with a lot of app development is that it might be something that seems innocuous on the surface, and then you dig deeper and it is it's a big one. But typically what happens in the flow is, right, luckily we are small enough and agile enough that we can get a bug that comes in. What we'll do is you do your good old triage. You say, how severe is this? You'll hear some phrases I might throw out there where you have different environments, right? Like I write all of my code for the app locally, right? I have a computer where I essentially have a copy of everything that is out there, like on your phone, minus the data. We're not going to copy your data. That's yours. You keep that. But we keep that locally, right? So I can do things on the fly and test. Then what typically we will do is we take that and we move that to an area called development. That's kind of between the world of on my computer and fully out in the open world. That lets us start working on things like, let's say, for example, that date bug. I could go in locally, see what's wrong with it locally, see if I can find the bug, fix it, and then test it in dev. So I can push it, and then the other people that are also working on this with me all test it and confirm that what I found works. And then once we have that, we get to turn and say, all right, go be fixed out there in the open world. So that's typically the process that it will go through to actually get out. Now, there are a couple of things. If it's a severe enough thing, I will hop on any hour of the day, fix it, and get something out there, right? And if it gets triaged to that level, yes. If not, it can be anywhere, typically from a 24-hour turnaround to, unfortunately, if you have to work with the app stores, right? We love the fact that you can just go to the app store and download an app. But for developers, what that means is that sometimes if we have to make like a small fix that's in the app, we have to like go through this process of getting it found, tested, like verified, and then pushed. And then we have to go like put it in our hands, walk up to the app store and say, hey, can you please send this out to everybody for us? And so that distribution piece can typically take anywhere from 24 hours to 3 days, depending on whether it's Android or iOS. Okay. So that's why So it's like the big thing for us is that triaging step. Let's sit down. Let's see what is exploding. Let's see how quick we can fix it. And then we'll deal with the other steps after.
So from your side, as a techie or head nerd, as you described yourself earlier, what do you wish cattle producers knew or understood about the ag tech space?
I think something that is both good and bad, a good old double-edged sword here, is that the ag tech space is really fast paced right now. It is reaching a very beautiful point where technology is flooding in. Things are being introduced that haven't been there before, that involve many new technologies. Right in here, apps, blockchain, whatever modern buzzwords you want to hear. And that's great because that means that a lot of time, money, and investment is being made into the field. But at the same time, there's an understanding of what it means to be on the bleeding edge of technology. Things are rapidly changing. Constant feedback is actually like loved and encouraged. Right? Talk to us. Tell us what we did that you don't like and do like, and we will try to just get on it. We want to make sure that those turnaround times are maybe not months as things used to be, but we can get it down to like days and maybe weeks. Right? And so I think that's the big thing I want them to just take away, is that because of this new space, ag tech is like on the bleeding edge. It is here, it is changing, and it is going to grow.
So, Alex, what do you want cattle producers to understand about about using technology on their operations and implementing that?
Yeah, I think even what Keenan just said about feedback is so important. And us as a early stage company with with an early stage product, like, we need and want as much of that feedback as possible, and we'll always take it. We're constantly using it. We're always listening to our customers, and always taking what we learn from them, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and turning that into new value for them. So I guess from my perspective, like, we want to see as many producers adopting technology as possible, and also just being open to communicating with us as frequently as possible. And I will say, like, as one awesome thing about this industry is, like, they're not maybe always easy to get a hold of because they're busy and in the field and might have service, but like, at the end of the day, their doors are always wide open. I mean, Keenan has gone to a few events already with me. We did a preg checking event a couple months ago. We've gone to some other producers' houses. Like, their doors are wide open. So, like, thank you, and continue to do that, because it makes our job easy and hopefully, helps us deliver something of value quicker.
Well, that's exciting. And yet again, another common theme that gets shared on the show about the beef industry. It's certainly welcoming and supportive, and that's really exciting to see, especially as these new technologies come into place. So as we kind of wrap up our conversation today, do either of you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with the cattle producers out there listening, whether it relates to cattle ID or how they can work with any ag tech company a little better and make their lives easier?
Tower, we are here to build something for you. It is not you doing something for us. So please reach out, let us know what we can do for you. Or honestly, reach out if you just want to chat about tech. I am here and can talk about it for days. And especially now that I've dove into the ag tech world, let's talk. So thank you all for listening and giving us the time we do have today.
Well, awesome. Thank you both for being on the show today and diving into what it looks like to be in the ag tech space and to help cattle producers understand what technology can do for their operations and how they can best work with any ag tech company out there. Because what'd you say, Keenan? Data is knowledge and knowledge is power. And but in order to get there, you guys need feedback on your end. So
there we go. Yeah, let's work together.
Yep.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shay.
Thank you, Shay.
And that's a wrap on that one, folks. Thank you for tuning in today and joining in on the conversation. Be sure to take this a step further and take the advice you learned and implement it on your operation. If you want to have a conversation about it, head over to my social media and send me a DM by following @CattleConvos and connecting with me there. Have a great day.